Drew, another clean sheet on Tuesday night. Defensively, as a unit, is that key to some of the success at the moment?
Yeah, of course. It's always satisfying for all five of us back to the whole team, but obviously the goalkeeper and the two centre backs and the two full backs were always going to take a wee bit more pride in it, and I think we've kept maybe 8 in the last 9 or something like that. So we've been doing well and we've been keeping clean sheets, and I didn't on Tuesday. I never really felt worried up, and probably they had a corner in the 92nd minute. We're thinking, oh no, but we dealt with it well. So all in all, it was a pleasing performance defensively, and we managed to get the breakthrough as well.
On a personal level, are you playing as well as you've ever played, do you feel?
Yeah, I feel I've kind of added a wee bit of consistency into my game, and I'm kind of hopefully doing it week in, week out. I think I've still got more to come, and I think I'm improving defensively as well, week in, week out. But that's going to happen when you play regularly, and I think you're seeing it on the other side as well with Moses. I think he's come on leaps and bounds as well, so that can only help the team if both of us are improving, because we are still young.
Do you feel if Hull get promoted back to the Premier League that you'll be better equipped this time around?
Yeah, of course. You're another year older, you're another year wiser, and you've had a season in the Championship. We're going to these places and facing different challenges that you won't face in the Premier League. The Premier League is about playing against world class players and things like that, and Championship isn't like that. It's about facing up to the opposition and matching them for their work ethic and things like that. So it's a completely different league, and I think all of us will be more prepared for the Premier League if we get promoted.
How are you finding it this season in contrast to last season when you were fighting to stay in the Premier League, this time at the top of the table there to be shot at? Are you enjoying that challenge?
Yeah, of course. Don't get me wrong, everyone wants to be in the Premier League, everyone wants to be there with the money it brings, the attention it brings and all that, but at the end of the day you would much rather go for a title than be down the bottom of the league, which we were last season. So this season's a completely different challenge, and you can see the boys maybe enjoying it a lot more. Everyone's coming in training happy, and the whole squad's happy, and we're winning games, and people are chasing us for a change. So it's a big contrast, but I think it's a lot better this season. But at the end of the day, our main aim is to get back up there.
A lot of talk at the moment about fixture congestion. As a player, do you just enjoy the games coming around, or is there a fatigue factor?
No, I don't. Don't get me wrong. If you ask any player, they'll prefer to play than train. You prefer to go out there and play in front of the fans and go for a title than just jog out there and train about. So don't get me wrong, when it comes to the end of the season, yes, with the amount of games people will be fatigued, but I think once the adrenaline gets through your games, and then you're fine. Maybe that's me young talking. Maybe Michael Dawson or Curtis Davis might have a different answer to that, but I'm just happy to keep playing, and Saturday, Tuesday, whether it be, we've dealt with it well so far, and we need to keep that going to the end of the season.
And Sheffield Wednesday next up, what have you made of them this season, because they're knocking on the door for the playoffs as well? I
think they've been brilliant this season. I think they've probably been won a couple surprise packages this season. Maybe nobody expected them to be there, and they've recruited well. They've got a few big players in, which was probably a surprise as well, and they've invested a bit of money. So far this season they've been really good, and I think they'll be in the playoffs, or maybe pushing for automatic. So they're a tough team, and I'm sure they'll want to bounce back after a disappointing result on Tuesday. At home they would expect to win that game. So I think they'll come and try and get off to a good start, but we've got to try and match that. And if we play to the way we've been playing at home and our home form, then I'm hopeful that we'll get the 3 points.
Thank you. I was going to say, you're talking about the squad and the amount of games you've got coming up. Is that the key, the fact that the manager has got options so he can refresh things and bring 1 or 2 players in to make sure no one does get too tired? Yeah, definitely.
I think the gaffer's went on about it the last couple of weeks. He's probably had the joy of being able to pick from every squad member, which he maybe didn't have to do at the start of the season, and especially last season. We get hit by a few bad injuries, so it's his job to try and keep everyone happy, because people are going to be left out and people are going to be on the bench. But I think the cup runs have been a key factor to that. You see the boys that haven't played in a while going to Arsenal and getting a draw. So how can you complain with that? And then he has to leave some of them out on Tuesday. So, but he's done a good job at keeping them all happy. And as a squad, we're all happy and we're all fighting for places, and that can only be healthy for us. And I think it will be key. I think every squad member will be used in the running.
Do you think players these days have bought into the fact it is a squad game now, and they realise that you can't play every week?
Yeah, I think. Well, I can only speak from our squad, and I think we have bought into it. People people are getting dropped or rested or whatever it is. You know, you've seen maybe like say Isaac on Tuesday. You know what I mean? He's been playing the last couple of games and he's out of the squad. But you know, we all spoke to Isaac and the gaffer spoke to him, and he was fine because he knows if he works hard and things like that, he'll be back in. And you know, he'll be back in today, try to fight for a place tomorrow. And that's just the way it is. You know, we're all friends in there, but at the end of the day, there's only 11 spots, and we're all fighting for them.
With this push for promotion, the fact that you've got some experienced players that played at the top end of the game in the Premier League or have been promoted before, does that help you in terms of holding your nerve at this stage?
Yeah, well, I think only time will tell, but I think so. You know, I think the way the experienced boys are talking and, you know, keeping the feet on the ground and knowing that we've still got a long way to go, but at the same time, you know, trying not to forget the fact that we're top of the league, because you can't do that. But you know, the run-in's going to be a tough one, and I think we're the best equipped for it as we can be just now, and you know, we just need to wait and see what the coming weeks bring.
And some of the other runners and riders have stumbled in recent weeks, although I know it's Tuesday, most of the sides up there got good results, so that shows that you can't afford to slip up.
Yeah, I think probably the results on Tuesday, they were probably maybe looking at us away to Ipswich on a Tuesday night as a, you know, a banana skin for us maybe, but they were all at home, and you know, we came through it with a clean sheet and a 1-0 victory, so you know, we didn't expect them to drop any points, but you're right, they have maybe stumbled a wee bit, but I think maybe over the Christmas period we done that when they were, and we maybe fell back a bit, so we were playing catch up and we've managed to catch them up. So you know, I think everyone will probably be in good form in the run-in, and the games against each other will be crucial, and you know, the games against teams that are maybe fighting down the bottom or fighting for playoffs will be also crucial. So you know, there'll be certainly twists and turns in the run-in, and it just depends who's on top after that.
Andy, what have you made of reports linking you with Manchester United this week?
I don't know what to say about it really. You know, obviously it's an honour to kind of be linked with a club like that, but you know, I don't know how much there is to it. You know, obviously I'd seen it yesterday, but you know, I just kind of laughed at it. But you know, it was such a big club and reaped in the history that it is. It's obviously nice to be linked with them, but you know, I'm not sure there's anything in it, but I'll take it.
Has there been any advice from some of the senior players here?
No, you know, it was only in the paper yesterday. Nothing's been said about it, and you know, it's a wee bit of a weird time for a story to kind of come out in February in the mid-season. But you know, I'm fully focused on getting Hull back to where we belong, we think, and back to the Premier League. And you know, I think there'll be speculation probably about most of the players when you're up the top come the end of the season. But you know, all the boys are focused on what we have to do, and that's the main thing just now.
What's been the key to your consistency this season, would you say?
I just think, you know, playing week in, week out, you know, obviously the gaffers trusted me and played me the majority of the games, and, you know, I've hopefully repaid that trust, and, you know, I think just a consistent run of games in the team that, you know, you're going to maybe find that consistent, you're going to improve defensively and attackingly as well. So, you know, I've been happy that I've stayed in the team, and, you know, it's my job to keep that place now.
How nice would it be for the players to be going well clear of the chasing pack for the victory in this game ahead of Saturday? What sort of difference does that make to you?
Well, of course, you know, we're the only ones playing on Friday, so, you know, if we can get the 3 points, then, you know, we can kind of sit back and watch, you know, the scores coming in on Saturday, and, you know, a wee bit of pressure off us for up till Tuesday. You know what I mean? It's not long, but it'll be nice to just sit back on Tuesday and Saturday and watch the results come in. But we've got to do the job on Friday, because at the end of the day, they teams will be watching our game and thinking, oh, they could slip up, and then we get a free game on Saturday. So, you know, it's interesting and it's very exciting, and you know, all players are watching each other's results now, and that's just the way it is. And you know, but hopefully we can get the 3 points on Friday and put pressure on them.